Hey guys, this is Ashton,
This is Kevin.
This is Ray.
and joining us is the North American champion, Andrew Cox. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, good. So we want to talk to you a little bit about what it takes to win. So other than the hat and the beard that not everyone can have the privilege of sporting so well, what are some things that you can tell us players to prep and some things that we can do to make sure that we deliver such a great result like you did at a store championship, at a regionals, or at a major competitive environment like you just attended? What's some really good advice that you can give us?
All right, so I think the number one thing for me is preparation, and that comes in a few different forms. Most importantly, along those lines, is having a team or having friends that you practice with on a regular basis. I cannot express the importance of what my teammates did for me in preparing, during, before, after the event. Having consistent people that you play with, that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can get reps with, that you can have real good practice, not just going and playing games over and over again, but like legitimate actual practice. Where you test different mulligans, different game plans, different target priorities. Just having those people that you consistently talk to on a regular basis is, I think, the number one thing when it comes to performing at events.
So how many rounds of Destiny did you play at Gen Con?
Let's see, it was 8 on day 1 and 14 on day 2, so 22 total games.
Dude, after 6 or 7, I'm done. Like, I don't know how you power through that. Like, that's gotta just get so tiring. Like, doesn't your tailbone hurt? Like, how much time did you have in between each round?
So day 1 wasn't that bad. The games usually average around 20 minutes. So
yeah,
we went pretty quickly. Day 2 though, 4 out of my 5 best of 3 matches went to 3 games. And I think I was the last one done in almost every round. So I really enjoyed that 1-2-0 where I had a little break. But we went day 2 with no break, straight through 5 rounds of best of 3. It was pretty rough.
Oh my gosh. That makes me so tired. And it was in Gen Con too. So were you like in the game floor, like in the basement?
So there's one big event hall, which is where most of the companies that are running tournaments and stuff have all their events. So FFG has like a huge portion of that right at the beginning when you enter, where they have all their games going on. So X-Wing, Destiny, Legion, every single game that they're running is in that one area. Thankfully, I had some great friends. My girlfriend made it up, which was awesome. Teammates were able to like grab me snacks and water in between and everything.
Yes,
so, like,
the food runners.
Like I said, teammates, key.
Yeah.
How many people were there? What was the final number?
Final number was somewhere in the 280s, I believe. I think 285 was a number that I heard thrown around.
So many people. That's awesome. It's awesome that it was such a big event.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a lot of fun, especially since it was on Thursday. We were really worried about attendance being down, which I think it was. I think it definitely affected it. But the amount of people we still had come out was great.
The thing that's encouraging is, like, I know it's Gen Con and everyone shows up. It is what it is. But, like, the game is definitely growing. You know, it's going to get bigger and bigger each year. Like, I mean, if the facility can, house that many people, I'm sure, 1 year it's going to be up to 500 easily. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, the vibe was definitely very positive, other than at the end when everyone understood that the Milpocalypse was upon them.
Yeah.
Total vibe around the event and just Destiny as a whole was super positive. The FFG staff and judges were phenomenal. Like, I have nothing but good things to say. It was great having Jeremy there, seeing him interact. I thought the structure they ran was the best they've ever run at any premier event. So, like,
wow.
Honestly, nothing positives. I think every person there, from like the casual players to the top competitive players, were super happy with the event.
Cool.
So
that's all you can hope for. When
you're trying to build a deck, okay, and you're working with your teammates, which, Kevin, did you hear that? Mates.
I got married, man.
Kevin's been like MIA for 2 weeks now.
He moved away.
Yeah, and he got married, and yeah, it's okay. We forgive him. Yeah. We still love him. But if when you're preparing for something like this and you're playtesting a deck, okay, what do you consider playtesting? Like, how many reps do you feel is appropriate for a deck? Like, do you put in 5 to 8 to 10 reps and say, okay, this deck just can't do it? And if so, how many reps do you put in, and what do you play it against?
Sure. So, like, the general process that I have, and I guess the Hyperloops in general have, is I'm not really the main idea guy. That's more Joe, Nick come out with these crazy off the wall ideas. Some of the other guys, like I think Outrun was the first one that brought this deck up. We throw it at what we think should be good matchups. So we have to kind of have an idea of what the meta is going to be, right? So we know what we're trying to plan for. So first thing we do is we throw it at the good matchups, and it should crush the good matchups, right? So that's
Right.
test number one. If it's not crushing your good matchups and what you expect it to beat, then you have a bigger problem, right? Something's not working with the deck. You either need a total fundamental change, or it's not as good as we thought it was going to be. So if it crushes the good matchups, there you go. That's step one. You're good. Then you have to test the bad matchups, and that's where the majority of the testing comes in. Is how can we tech for what are our worst matchups? Are we just punting some of them, which is totally a viable strategy? Me and Mike took Sabine to Worlds, and we were punting versus Kylo. Like, we could win it, but it's really tough. And then, so you try to tech as well as you can. And then it's just a matter of testing different matchups, right? So we expected a lot of aggro in the forms of like Kylo and Cad Snoke. We expected a lot of vehicles, and we expected some 2-wide mill. So you test it versus different archetypes and see how the general game plans fill out, and that's how you can kind of cycle down into what cards we need, how we can tech. Are we punting, so we just don't have to tech for any cards from that? Can we put some cards in which can help our worst matchups?
So how many reps do you think you put in with this deck before you ended up playing it at Gen Con?
2.
Two.
So
Nobody wants to hear that at all.
Oh my god! No,
like
but
someone sitting at their house just like banging on their keyboard.
So this is the story of Gen Con for me. Our opening event of Way of the Force here in Orlando, I opened a Leia, and I traded for a second Leia. So I was like, you know what? We're going to try Leia. We have the cards. This is what I'm going to run. So I built a Leia Yoda deck and worked on it for a few weeks. I ended up winning my first store championship with it. So I was really happy with where it was. It felt super tuned. It felt very optimized. I was like, this is my fallback deck. So then I went into testing some other things. I was always pretty confident that Mill was going to be a good call going into Gen Con, just because I felt like vehicles are going to be so overrepresented at the top tables and that I really could, if I could find a Mill deck that could handle the aggro matchup and then crush the vehicle matchups, I'd be really happy. So through testing, the guys had told me, Cassian just feels much stronger than Leia does, and I agree. Leia's pretty inconsistent. I love the deck. I love the speed and the tempo of it, but Cassian's just way better, way more consistent. Yellow removal is nuts. So I started testing the Yoda Cassian 2-wide deck while the other guys were working on the 3-wide deck. So going into Gen Con, I flew with Leia Yoda and Cassian Yoda were the only things I brought. My plan was to try to get some more games win with Cassian Yoda, and if I didn't feel good enough, I was going to switch back to Leia. The week leading up to Gen Con, I had 102-degree fever and was in bed for 3 days straight. It was super rough. I would get one game of testing in and then go nap for 30 minutes.
Wow.
So I really had to rely on my teammates to figure out what decks were good and get the final tweaks in. So I just wasn't able to put in time with 3-wide. On top of that, I've never been a super 3-wide player. I've generally played 2-wide aggro decks. So the morning of, I was still planning on playing Cassian Yoda. And I had this thought in the back of my mind where at Gen Con, Mike made a slight, this is Bobby Sapphire from the Hyperloops, made a slight tweak to our Sabine deck. He's saying there's always going to be more aggro decks than you think there's going to be. I'm sitting there, 2-wide mill really struggles against aggro decks, and 3-wide mill had a pretty good matchup against it. And I was like, you know what? There's always going to be more aggro matchups than you think there's going to be. I put out the message, like, hey, do you guys think I can pick this up? And then one of our teammates, Biggie, Brendan, he's top 16 worlds. He might have top 8. I might be selling him short. He was like, I'll show up to the Gen Con hall at 9 a.m. We'll run you through some reps. I'm pretty sure you can get there. So we got there. I played 2 games against Kylo Snoke and Kylo Price. I went 1-1, and I was like, yeah, I think this is the deck.
You see that, kids? All you need to do is tell your friends what deck you need them to make you. Have them bring the cards and show up, and you'll win. That with the beard and the hat, the whole thing.
Yeah, the beard and the hat's the key. If you ain't got that, just go home.
Yeah, start growing your beards now for Worlds,
So
It's gonna take me that long.
A funny story after that, I was talking to Jordan in the finals. Apparently, he had got onto his deck Thursday morning also. So
wow,
just switch your deck the morning of the tournament, and everything works out.
Yeah, that's the best strategy.
But so here's the thing.
Question.
Go ahead, Ray.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what is this?
Go ahead.
That was the cutest thing in the world.
Sir talks a lot up there at the top. So I saw that a lot of the Destiny Council guys showed up strong, and they were repping the Cassian Yoda aggro deck. I think Brian from Destiny Council made it the furthest. In some playtesting I've done and some articles I've read, I heard that is probably the most intimidating aggro deck against this spread. Did you face them, and then how'd you fare against that? I mean, obviously, we know the results, but did they give you any hangups, or is it as close as people have been saying?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the closer aggro matchups, just because of the speed and the inability to interact with it, which is, I have a ton of removal cards. If I can't touch your dice, then there's not much I can do. So it plays a lot into the combo style that they're really good at and are used to. Yep. They were on Obi-Maz. I know Brian was on Obi-Maz at Worlds. So it's a similar style to that. And the Yoda Hondo that they were on. So I played not one of the Destiny Council guys, but one of the other local Minnesota guys, Michael Spalding, and I was able to take the match from him. Mike actually played Andrew from the Destiny Council, and he lost. That was his one loss in Swiss. So it's definitely one of the tougher aggro matchups, but it's not unwinnable. I think it's probably close to 50-50 just from my limited games against it. The big thing that they play off of is the prize factor of not knowing that it's aggro, incorrectly mulliganing, and then they have an advantage. However, my game I played, they were on War-Torn Streets, which is still a mill battlefield, but it's not one that's generally run. So my antenna was up, I was ready, and then I played Friends in Low Places and saw hyper what's it called, light bow, action 1. So I was like, okay, we're good. Yeah, it's definitely a tougher matchup. I would definitely need more testing for me to get a real good feeling on it, but I know it's definitely one of the toughest matchups.
Cool.
I just love hearing that you need more testing. You won it from your event, but I still need more testing.
But that needs to be your regimen from now on. Just show up. Hey, Mike, give me a deck, and then just go with it.
But see, here's the thing. Yo, go ahead.
I was say, so at Worlds, Mike was on Riken Mill all the way up until the night before, and he took my Sabine deck, and he got top 4. So I told him for a while. I was like, Mike, I gave you a top 4 deck.
That's cool.
You owe me a deck.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're even.
Ashton,
it's all good.
I want to hear what the thing is. Here's the thing.
I done forgot 3 times. So hold on.
Gosh.
All right. So here's what I was gonna say. All right. So I know in all good fun we're talking about play testing and playing this deck just a few times and bringing the cards and playing it. But here's the thing though, we need to understand what the mind of Andrew Cox is. You come from a competitive background because you play sports. What kind of sports you play?
So in college I played competitive paintball and ultimate frisbee.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Those are the most badass sports ever.
They really are. That
this
is cool.
completely derailed Ashton's the mind of a champion.
But no, it's here's the thing though.
I showed up, they gave me the deck, I got 2 reps with it. And
it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. He's not playing something that's he's not playing a sport that's very conformative or very common. He's playing something that he enjoys, something that's aggressive, something that's out of the box, something that's flavorful, right? So, but here's the thing. There's got to be something that you're thinking when you're playing. What is it that you think your approach is that's different than other people? Okay, because I couldn't pick up this deck. I couldn't just play it. You've been experimenting with Mill and whatever the case may be, and you put play testing with other decks, but there's got to be something that you're doing. Are you paying attention mostly to their discard? Are you paying attention mostly to their deck? Are you paying attention to the way they're playing, or maybe the way that they're doing certain things? Or are you just playing this deck and just flying by the seat of your pants? What is it that you're paying the most attention to in general, and as you're playing competitively, but also with this deck?
So I think there's a couple things. So pre-tournament, again, the biggest thing is preparation. So yeah, even though I hadn't gotten a lot of reps with this deck, I'd gotten a lot of reps against it. So I had a general idea of how it played.
There you go.
And I also had a lot of reps against the meta, right? Our team constantly was testing, these are the best decks in the meta. How do we play? How do we break them down? Should we play them? Should we not play them? What do we think their good matchups are? What do we think their bad matchups are? So this is a conversation we're having every single day leading up to the tournament for weeks. So even though my strategy changed slightly, I still knew the strategies of all the decks I was going to face. I didn't see anything that surprised me the entire tournament, except for the finals. That was one that we never were even on. We knew it was on the radar, but there's only so much you can test, right?
Right.
But every other deck, I knew how it played. So it was just a matter of how do I adapt this deck strategy going into those matchups. So the preparation is still there pre-tournament. And then during the tournament, the biggest thing for me is just focus. One thing I picked up, again, from Mike from my team is he had the headphones at Worlds where he just zoned in and got his game plan together. So I brought a set of Bluetooth headphones, and leading up into the game, I put some music on, shuffled my deck while everything was getting set up, and I really just was like, okay, what am I mulliganing for? What battlefield do I want to take? Do I want the shields? Do I not want the shields? What's my general game plan? What, if I see this in my first hand versus this in my first hand, what am I going to do? Just so like, those are things that you can really easily plan out and have an idea of. So when they come up, you don't have to exert brain power on them, and you can start thinking another step ahead. So if I win the roll off, I know what battlefield I'm taking right away, and I can start just thinking about how the first round's going to play out. So really, it was just about focus, staying in the moment, trying to like block everything else out. And just figuring out what my game plan was and sticking to it.
So here's something that's really, really neat about that is what you're trying to minimize is what we call decision fatigue. And that's something that you hear a lot like in the business world and things of that sort is when you're dealing with like a competitive or a very, like, I guess where you're exerting a lot of brain power, the biggest thing that wears you down quickly is decision fatigue. All these things are happening, right? So your brain is like being stimulated at the maximum. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to react more without using as much brain activity so you don't become exhausted. And I think that's what it boils down to is play testing to eliminate that decision fatigue. So when you're playing, you're just playing very organically because you've done enough play testing against what you know and what you expect to see. And I think that's really cool because that's, what I want to take from this and what I want people to also take from this is how they can play the game differently. Like we understand pairings, we understand cards, we understand what they do, but how can we be better players competitively? And we obviously know rest and snacks and all these great things and play testing, but it's a lot about, and I think there's a lot of keenness in what you said is just trying to minimize the amount of decisions you have to make, and that way you're always that 2 or 3 steps ahead.
And to think about it in a more like a traditional sport way, you want to make it muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
You want, when I sit down across this deck, I'm doing this and this and this. That's what you want to get to.
That's it. That reflex.
So that those 22 games seem more like just a local tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate with Andrew here and say, so I do a lot of reading. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I get a pretty good pulse of what the Destiny community is saying, and a lot of people I've heard are saying about this deck is it plays itself. It's auto. You literally get down the Skywalker pod racer, and then from then on you're just activating Anakin, making sure you get the pod racer's full value, roll in Cassian at some point, resolve his dice, and then you're mitigating all along the way. Tell us how it felt like as far as the decisions that you had to make within the game, and then what was the toughest thing for you as far as was it keeping Anakin alive? Were they directly targeting Yoda, and you felt like you needed to play more heavily into the shields than maybe ramping with resources, or how did that go?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that the deck was super complicated to play. Like it was fairly straightforward, but that's a feature more than anything else. I played 22 games of the deck. Like you don't want some super complicated where every single action matters a ton. So we consider complexity of a deck when we're choosing them for a tournament. However, I will say, especially coming as a player who played a lot of Sabine, the tough games are not when I roll out Anakin's pod racer and I hit the discard, or when I roll out Sabine and I natty into 8 damage. Like that's not tough to do, right? The tough part is when I don't have the pod racer, or the pod racer gets milled in round 1 of game 2 of the finals, or Sabine doesn't roll any damage and I don't find my second chance. It's how to turn those bad situations into game wins. So a lot of people if they just roll out blanks for 2 rounds in a row, oh, well, I rolled terribly, the game's over, I lost because I rolled poorly. Well, no. Like if I have 5% chance to win the game, it's maximizing that 5% and trying to give yourself a chance to get into a win. So you have to learn how to take every bad situation and how to maximize chances on wins. I don't give up on any games until it's over. My opponent can make a mistake. My opponent can roll poorly. I can roll well. Any number of things can happen to get you back into a game. And so it's about always staying focused, staying in it until the game's over. So no, the deck is not terribly complicated to play. There are definitely rounds where it's super autopilot. But there are still tough situations and tough decisions to make in order to maximize your chance of winning every game.
Right. Cool.
That's awesome right there. That's so cool.
That's it. So what do you think was the most challenging matchup in Gen Con? Yeah.
100% the finals. The finals. It was a
Commander.
deck. Yeah, it was Talzin Commando. It was a deck that I had never played or played against. Thankfully, Nick had played it, 2 games prior, so we had a general idea of what the game plan should be going in, and I knew kind of some of the stuff that was in his deck. Yeah, I was not prepared. He had a ton of little dice, and my deck is built to deal with big dice, so like, not really worth entangling 2 ones.
Yeah.
You need 2 resources to turn off 2 damage, or force illusioning at maximum. His entire deck, by force illusion, the most it's ever doing is 2 damage. So like, just those cards weren't as efficient as they were meant to be. My big blowout removal wasn't as effective against him, and he obviously was an amazing player and played it super well. So that was by far the toughest match. Outside of that, just the mirrors. I mean, the mirrors against my teammates. My only loss in Swiss was to community member Shane, and then I had to play a best of 3 against Outrun in the top 4, and those are it's so tough. They come down to like, it all comes down to like 1 action here or there.
So after playing all these games, I mean, are you still excited to play Destiny? Like, you got home, yeah, I'm sure that you flew back. I mean, were you still excited to play Destiny if you had to play it the next day, or are you kind of burned out after playing so many rounds?
So like, I was definitely happy to take a couple days off. I haven't touched Destiny since I've been back. But I'm definitely going to my Friday night locals. All my friends are out there. Like, it's one of the best nights of the week. So I'm excited to just go out there and see those guys. No, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to play different things now. I'm ready to explore. And like, now that we're not in, the prepping for event, although I will be prepping for Nova at some point. I can take a week or 2 to just kind of play fun stuff, play different stuff, explore different decks, try to figure out how to play that Talzin Commando deck. That was nuts.
Yeah, I really like the concept of that deck.
So Ashton, that's like exclusively all he plays. We've been trying to fine tune it, because I think that was kind of like you said, it was kind of a dark horse, and it performed extremely well. I'm actually curious to see if that gets added to people's gauntlet list, because I think it's that good and that consistent. The health pool is 27, and it's really hard because most of the time, when you have a health pool like that, it might be like 7 over here, 10 over here. Perfect example is the mill deck that we're all looking at. So there is opportunities where they can like snipe a character, but with that one, it's 9s across the board, and it's annoying to chew through. Because if you think about it, I did some playtesting with Ashton, and in any aggro deck, unless you go off in a turn, which isn't typically going to happen in the first turn. It's going to take 2 rounds to get through 9 health, and if you have to, extrapolate that between all of the characters, that'd be 6 rounds. And I'm not saying that Destiny is never played into 6 rounds, but it's still a lot to handle.
And that's not even including their armor platings that also deal you a damage, the force illusions, the
Witch
force
magics
sides on the character dice.
The LL30 ambush sneak of damage.
Yeah.
It's
Me and Ashton
surprisingly
keep talking
resilient.
about that. It's like the armor plating swing of like ping and then I'll block the next 2 is like that's extreme.
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, I've been doing very well with it. I'm sure that's probably what I'll end up taking to the store championship, unless there's some other things that me and Ray have been kind of working on, which I'm actually really excited about. I want to do some more play testing with it and try to surprise people with it.
Oh yeah. Andrew's in your local meta.
So
you can't tell him what you're playing.
He's prepared for it anyway. You kidding me?
Oh, true.
Drop the call.
He doesn't even have to prepare.
Man,
he has a beard.
I got my store champ win. It's all good. I'm playing fun stuff.
Yeah, so let me win. If it was funny because the last time I was playing Obi Maz, and then Andrew walks over there, and I'm like, "Don't watch me play. You make me nervous. Just go away." He's like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry."
Here at Jackalmen Games, we approve of conceding against Ashton. If you want to concede against Ashton or me or Ray, go ahead.
I'll do that.
Careful, man. You might get the Knights of Red Discord yelling collusion at you.
Yeah.
So
I have a
go ahead.
question.
Yes, go ahead,
Ashton.
Ray.
Jesus. You guys want to say stuff at the same time.
I'm the
all
riddle
the time.
box.
I'm so excited to talk to Adam right now.
I'm like, yeah.
No, it's not Adam.
I am full of questions.
Hold on, disconnecting the call. 1 second.
Disconnecting the call. So you're like in the war room with the hyperloops. And what was NJ Cuenca's decision to take Afra? I know it's not, we're talking about you, but in a spread where majority of the loopers or the team of hyperloops was on a mill deck, what was his rationale?
So Cuenca is the mad scientist. First of all, we never know what he's going to do. We don't know if he's going to show up. We don't know if he's going to play in the tournament at any time.
That sounds like me.
Yeah. So his decision point, he was on a few different decks. He was on the Afra Mill deck, the Afra vehicle deck,
yep.
And was it Jetta? I think were his final decision points. And just in testing with the Afra vehicles, it first of all had some surprise factor. Not a lot of people were expecting or had tests against it, and he's more of like a synergy type player, right? He likes when things come together and like these seemingly weaker cards end up being stronger when they're played together. And that's exactly what that deck did. If it got its round one setup, it almost never lost. There was a point in time when Mike sent a message to our group saying, guys, this is the deck. Everyone like scramble and figure out your cards. And I was like looking to find Afras because I don't have fight Afras. And a couple of guys tested and started playing games with it and were like, we can't, there's no one in the world that could play this deck the way Nick does. Like we almost switched to it, but we realized that we just couldn't play it as well as he did. Being able to like understand how to deal with bad hand draws and like when you don't get everything down and how to work out stuff like that, how to mulligan correctly. It was just way too much.
Yeah,
so he put a lot of. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that he put a lot of time in with it, and it had great matchups across the board, which you saw from his performance. And it was just like it was something he could only do, and he did great.
Yeah, I was talking to him earlier today, and I told him like, hey, we'll have you on and we'll talk about the deck. But I was telling him like, I don't know how you pilot that deck. I feel like I'm doing myself more damage than I'm doing to my opponent. And he was just laughing at me. But I wanted to ask you about it because it is a strong deck and it is sneaky and it's kind of like an outliner. And I wanted to know like, why were you guys all on mill and not that? But I get the whole, saturated meta of vehicles, and mill is like vehicles kryptonite. So I get that. I just wanted to hear if you had like a background story of why like Nick was the one that just took some crazy Afra deck.
If there's ever a crazy deck that's being taken, it's always by Nick. But yeah, he was just killing it in testing with all of us. So it was a deck that he really had good reps with and had a good feel for. So we definitely encouraged him to take it, and we helped him tweak it. We made some couple changes like the night before. We were finally able to get it to a place where we liked it.
See, if he wasn't wearing a shirt, he would have won.
100%.
I know. I'm telling you, there needs to be some kind of like, law that you guys have or some petition or something that's signed that allows him to do that.
I agree. The man would never lose a game.
All right. So, Kevin. All right, we got Andrew Cox here, man. Ask him a question that's going to help you win.
It's going to help me win.
So, no, you are like Kevin is saying to himself, all right, Bill is going to be prevalent at my next door championship.
Yeah.
I am going to take Sabine. And I thought, I was like, because he's got a lot of reps with the Sabine clone trooper. And I was like, dude, go for it. Like, that's like a fair assessment.
That's.
Kevin?
I'm here.
I know. I can continue to talk for you if you like.
I know. I was like, okay, Ray's got it. He knows what I'm thinking. No, that's what I thought. I was, I saw Mike's solo Sabine, and I have my trooper Sabine, and you said something about Gungan long-term plan Sabine that, like, my brain exploded for a hot second. Like, do you think that players, if they want the rock paper scissors to keep going, if they want to win that rock paper scissors, you're gonna see more Sabines at local tournaments?
It's possible. So yeah, I think red Sabine is better than solo Sabine. I think it's just more consistent. I mean, solo Sabine, once it gets set up, it just dominates, but it can really struggle with the faster aggro decks. It just like, or it's able to get set up, blows it out of the water. It's an 11 health deck. But yeah, I think there's definitely some merit to red Sabine. I think Grand Entrance is just a bonkers card that like
I love that card.
It's almost a one cost, never tell me the odds, which is like
yeah.
So
the only time when I get sad is when I'll play Grand Entrance and then I'll hit like natural crazy damage and I'm like, well,
No,
I
you're
could have
not.
saved that.
You just take natural damage, so everything's still fine.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. But it's just like I spent $1. I could have rolled this without spending $1.
Yeah, so I
And
think
then
there's some merit.
times like. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep cutting people off. I'm just real excited.
Yeah, I think there's some merit there. I think it definitely is a good matchup against Mill. I will say that the 3-wide Mill has a much better matchup in general versus, other traditional Mill decks against Sabine. I think it's definitely more of a game where the other Mill decks had no chance.
Mhm.
But I think especially with like Rebel Trooper can take Guardian the Cassian die, which is really good. It's definitely a deck. It's not as good as it once was. I don't think it'll be tier 1, but it could definitely sneak up into tier 2. And with some surprise factor and people that aren't teching for it anymore, it can definitely win some tournaments.
Yeah, and I haven't had any practice for 2 weeks. I mean,
You'll get back in it, though.
I know, but I feel like I'll just do the Andrew Cox 2 reps and then go.
Easy.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So what are some of the key cards you want in your starting hand? If someone was to play this, okay, so everyone's like, hey, I want to be like Andrew Cox. I got the hat, I got the beard. I'm going to play this deck, I'm going to win. What do you want in your starting hand?
All right, so number 1 is obviously the Pod Racer. Like that is by far, I think, the best card in the deck. It just 2 shields and a discard or 2 discards every round for guaranteed. It's just amazing. So that's number 1. Number 2 is any 0-cost removal. So we only have 2 resources to start the game, and the last thing we want is a blowout round 1. So Pacify right here is the all-star. Pacify is an amazing card. It also has a lot of flexibility. You usually are resolving all of your dice, but you can, in a pinch, hit your own dice for 2 shields also. Or Hidden Motive is the other 0-cost, but definitely Pacify is the winner most of the time. Other than that, we're just looking for any upgrades. We only run, 8 dice cards? Yeah, 8 dice cards. So like any kind of dice you're getting to start, Force Jump against the right decks is amazing. That was MVP for me multiple games. Bartering is a phenomenal 1-cost, especially you have like an easy pickings and a bartering to start your hand.
Yeah.
You feel really good just dropping the bartering, be able to pick somebody still, and then you can ramp later with Yoda. So really we're looking for any upgrades and any 0-cost removal. That's the biggest thing.
So the Maz's goggles, I mean, what's the big tech with that?
So it has a discard side with its special. It has 2 resource sides and 2 focus sides.
Right.
I want all 5 of those.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
When I saw Maz's goggles sitting in there, I was like, yep, that's perfect.
So like early game, you can use its special to hit events, hit removal before you roll out the Pod Racer, different things. But honestly, its most effective use was with the focus. If I can, roll the 1 or the 2 focus on Maz's goggles to save me some Yoda dice, where I can then use Yoda to mill or take resources, take shields.
Yeah.
Really saves a lot. So I didn't play it a ton just because it's only a 1-of, so it didn't get in there a lot. But every time it was down, it felt really good.
Why not 2? Why just 1?
Spots are just really tight. If we play 2 Maz's goggles, I'm gonna have to cut another upgrade, and it's probably the weakest of all of the upgrades, if I was being honest, which is saying something. So there really just isn't another spot for it.
Yeah.
I really like the inclusion of Force Jump because I first looked at that card and I was like, man, this card's horrible when we were all opening up Way of the Force packs. And like 2 weeks ago, I started looking at it and I was like, you know what? It has legs behind it. It does fit perfectly with Yoda because it has shields. It he can focus into it and then it gets a free reroll. It's disgusting. That card for 1 cost is really good. Like I was really happy to see you guys tech that in.
Yeah, so I think that was my major contribution because in the Leia deck, Force Jump is probably, other than Force Speed, it's the best thing I can get round 1 down. Because that deck doesn't have as consistent removal, having Force Jumps available, especially with Yoda on a stick, to just it's removed 10 damage in 1 round for me before.
Wow.
And the blanking against the mill deck is almost as effective as removing the die because if I can blank it and then force them to reroll, that's just getting me closer to my win condition.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and then if they claim early and it's on a special, I can just re-roll it until it blanks or hits a shield, and I might just get a free shield out of it. So it's just tremendous value. It has possibly infinite value in certain rounds. And there's so many times I would blank something with the special and then wait to see what it re-rolled, and if it missed, focus with the Yoda and be able to do it again. So yeah, that card is so good.
That's just the make them cry card.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple times where I pulled like big removal against Joe in the cut. He pinned down against it. I think Jordan used a flank or something against it. So like when they're using like premium removal against your little force jump die, that feels really good.
Yeah.
No, it's like a baby force push just sitting out there that just keeps coming back over and over again. Like it's really good.
Yeah, I would love to have 2 in there. There's just not enough room.
No, I think the one of it, 2, I feel like might clog some things up, but it's still, I mean, it's so good. And then you can conserve some, the removal that's in your hand. Yep. If they do re-roll, that plays right into your, objective of minimizing cards, and then you just kind of play around the stuff that they might have hit on. So I think it's really smart.
Yeah, the one-of's really good too, because I think in almost every game Yoda was the target, so you don't want a ton of spot blues.
Yep.
Everything's just so cheap and consistent. It's just really, it's teched very well. What was that card that you swapped out like last minute?
Flank.
Flank, okay.
Flank was a morning of cut. We wanted to put in, see if I remember.
It was so long ago.
It's a long weekend. I think it was the Maz's Goggles was the last ad, and we cut Flank.
Okay.
No, sorry. It was the second Clandestine.
Okay.
We only had Clandestine as a one-of, and Mike was really concerned with time, so Clandestine speeds up our mill. And I think our removal package was good enough. It was also like an auto loss in the mirror if you don't have Clandestines.
So just let me see if I understand that card correctly. Like, if you're special chaining, is that where it shines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had in the final, I think it was game 3, he had 5 cards in hand, 5 cards in deck, and Yoda was about to die. Wrote out Yoda, he hit 1 special with a force jump on him, and I played Clandestine to Yoda, mill focus, and then just roll the force jump to hit the last 5 cards of his deck.
Wow.
Yeah, that makes that card like ridiculously better.
It's great. Like, there was times where I would use it just on like 2 shield sides. If you're getting at least 2 value from it, it feels really good.
Yeah. I mean, pay 1. It's like the upside is wild, and then when you look at cards like, what was it, strength through weakness, or is that what it is? The mill, pay 3, mill 4. Yeah. I mean, it has the potential of doing that and more, and it only costs 1. So
I think Adam had a play in the mirror against somebody where he did Clandestine in between the dice resolution and the Clandestine. He milled 9.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, cool.
Almost a third of the whole freaking deck. That's crazy. That's awesome, though.
Hitting 1 or 2 big ones of those in the mirror like wins the game for you.
Man.
Yeah, that's wild.
I never want to be on the other side of the table of milling 9.
That's just such a key card. Just the synergy between these character setups with Clandestine is just like genius. It's like,
so many like shared sides. So like, you can do it on discard, you can do it on shield, you can do it on special. It all feels really good.
I just feel like the mirror of this is like back to R2P2 days of mirror, where it's just horrible to deal with. Like, if you have to deal with multiple mirrors of this match, like, you just want to leave. You don't want to play anymore. And that's how R2P2 was. Like, if you went through 2 to 3 rounds of playing against R2P2, when you were piloting that deck, it was such a mental strain and also annoying. So I feel like a mirror of this would be really annoying.
It's actually pretty similar in the matchup because it's very tempo based. Like, whoever gets ahead of the tempo and is able to roll out first and claim first gets the win.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you had a really good shot at topping this event? Do you feel like maybe just you went against some people that had some really bad rolls, or do you feel like every game was really legit as far as being competitive? I mean, that's kind of like my concern is like, do you think that this is strong all the time, or do you think that you could have had some opponents roll a lot better, which would have changed the game entirely?
Don't think so. I'll say this, and my one loss in Swiss was a teammate on the mirror. The other 7 games I felt in full control of the entire time. So I think it's just a matter of the deck being tuned really well for the tournament. But I ran into everything we expected. I think 5 of my games were 2-wide aggro. I had the 1 mirror and then 2 vehicle matchups in Swiss. So when you sit down at a table and like, this is to game plan, this is exactly what we planned for and what we're teched for. It felt really good the entire day of Swiss.
How many weeks did you prep? 2 weeks or longer?
Like in total for the event, I mean,
yeah, in total
ever since the event dropped or the set dropped. So what is that? Almost a month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Man, how many hours a day you think you put in?
It's tough to say. Like just in general, all prep, like every day, our chat is going. So not only our private team chat, but just the Discord in general, which is another huge benefit. You have, the best players in the world are all in that one chat. Not to mention like the 6 who I consider best players in the world on the team, where we're talking every single day. Hey, I had this idea. Hey, what do you think about this tech card? What do you think about this matchup? What do we think the meta is going to be? But as far as games, I'm very blessed in Orlando to have an amazing local scene. So like I can go to 3 or 4 locals a week if I want to, and have amazing players at them that constantly challenge me. So I say I probably play in person at least twice a week, and then I test, maybe another 2 to 3 days a week with the guys on TTS.
I want to ask
my
you.
Game.
What? Yeah, you do. Like, geez, yes, you do.
See, and the local scene that he has is like an hour. No, actually, like 45 minutes from me. It's just getting down there before the event starts is like my hard part. Of like, I can only go down there like on certain weekends, But
the biggest stores are on like the east side of town, which is complete opposite of you two, which is
But it's worth it.
I think it is. We have a great crew. They're all really good, and it's a great time every time.
Oh yeah. Every time I've been there, everybody's been really welcoming. Like Fam's a really cool guy. I was kind of like when I met him, like I was like, what's up with this guy? It kind of seems like, and I was like, dude, this guy's super nice. Like he's like super friendly, and like he hit me up on Facebook, and like it was nice. It was a nice experience. I'm like, all right, cool. I got to get down here more when I can, So.
I think if you took a poll on who everyone's favorite person was from our crew, I think Fam would win in a landslide. Is the man. And cool. He has stepped up his game over the last few months so much. There was a point in time. So like we have me and Andres, who are 2 of the top players down here. There was like a month or 2 where Fam was the best player in Orlando, and it wasn't close. Like consistently, he was killing it. Love awesome. That dude.
So I have a quick question. What was the coolest thing that you Flames of the Past did?
Yeah, I love that card.
I think the dream is like a planetary bombardment.
So I never played Flames of the Past until I played with Ray, and I'm like, dude, this card's freaking broken. I love this card. Like,
I don't think I had anything flashy. I think like a couple chance cubes was the biggest thing.
Oh.
There was against Joe. I held it for like 4 rounds. He played an arc round 1, and I kept waiting. And then after the game, I was like, Joe, are you only wanting 1 arc? He's like, yep. But I hit a Hellfire once. That felt really good.
Oh, that's
but like
solid.
the game winning ones are definitely the chance cubes, just because like being able to take that off the table and it's tricky from rounds. I didn't play any Kylo the entire tournament, so I didn't have any opportunity to Flames any Ancients. But that's like what it's really in there for, is for the Ancients.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I'm out of questions. Are you happy now?
And we're at the 45-minute mark.
Are we?
Yeah, we did it.
I feel bad because like this is like a YouTube / iTunes, Google Play podcast, and we really did not like portray the scene for those listening just on audio. So go and check out the deck list. Where can you find this? Is this just on the DB, or do you have to become a Patreon of the Hyperloops?
I didn't personally post it anywhere. I don't think it's on the DB anywhere, but my teammate Mike Gem wrote up a tournament report with the list.
Yeah.
In an article on Monday, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I'm looking at it in. So it's a really good article. All the Hyperloops articles are free. They post something every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. So thehyperloops.com and check out the Mill Apocalypse article for the deck list.
It's a lot of content.
Yeah, it's nuts. I don't know how they do it.
I was gonna say.
This is the exact deck list 4 out of the 5 of us ran. One of our other guys had, I think, 1 or 2 cards different, but the Mike, Adam, myself, and Brendan all ran this exact deck list.
Cool.
That's cool. Well, thanks so much, man. We really appreciate this.
Of course, man.
For real.
Let's talk to you guys.
I mean, when I'm gonna come down to Orlando in March, so.
And he might play Destiny again. I'm super excited.
That's when he'll start playing Destiny.
No.
And what you need to do is try to time it up with the regional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
wait.
regional season. No, regional
Yeah,
season would be over before March, right?
Oh, that's in the thick of it. No way. Regional season
Think of
goes
it as
from
March.
like
I think it's November
like
to March.
November. Yeah.
They're already trying to
I-
find places. Actually, they were talking. Breakpoint was actually trying to find a way to host a regionals, and like Jesse was like, "Are you sure you have enough room here?" And they're like talking about taking a wall down and all kinds of crazy stuff to make sure that like they can fit enough people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping Orlando gets it this year.
Dude,
I'm sure with all the good stores we have.
yeah, it's crazy that like you had to go like way North Florida or way South Florida, and I'm like Orlando's right in the middle of everything, and there's tons of places that it could be hosted at. So
Orlando normally gets it every year. I think last year none of our stores applied.
okay, weird.
That's
I'm
where we
pumped
met. We met
for
you in Miami.
Yeah.
That was the first time.
Yep, and
Yep.
he won.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you won.
Against Mill, and then he took Mill
For a full circle.
with Sabine. So yeah.
Regional season is the best though. It's like it's it's going to be a big event. A lot of people are going to show up, and then because store championships just bother me. It's like some rando deck comes out of nowhere and beats you, and you're like, wow, is that deck good, or did I just play really bad, or I didn't know how to play against it? And then once it all kind of shakes out, Gen Con, Nova, and then once we get into to regional seasons, that's when like the meta is the meta, and now it's your turn to like start teching against what the top tier decks are. So I don't know, I like it better. And then like you can make a deck, and it can be the next best thing. Like
I definitely agree.
yeah. So
I think it's really cool. Regionals are great because we have so many cool communities down here in Florida that we don't get to see very often. The Tampa guys are awesome.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
so cool.
Gainesville guys are awesome. So like just having everyone come together at once again to see all those guys again. And I agree. I like the big event metas much better than like these little store championships that you can't really prep for because you have no idea what everyone's gonna bring. Where I like the like prep and the making the call of what the meta is going to be and deciding. I think that's a lot of where my skill comes in, is just like calling the meta and taking the right deck. So it's a lot more fun.
I just love that. Like I've never traveled so much for a competitive card game until it was Destiny came out, and I started like, wow, this game's great. I'm gonna start traveling for this and meet people, and it's really cool because as I travel, like I meet all the same people. Like even whenever I went to Georgia for the Galactic Qualifier, I met up with people from like Orlando and things like that. It's just so cool because now it's like all these people. I'm sorry, Kevin wants to talk now.
No, it's just cool. There's a guy from Atlanta that we met that was buying all the spot glasses.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He's in my local meta. He's from New Jersey.
That's so cool. But it's
was
just it's like
crazy.
all of us meet each other like so often, and I just think that's super awesome. Like you get to like play with your friends and people It's not like this super mean, unwelcoming environment like I felt when I played Magic, and it's definitely a great game. It's great people, and I love that about it. So that is continuing to be the thing, is that Star Wars Destiny is welcoming, and they're great people that play this game, and it's always competitive and very surprising with the whole dice element. So I think the potential for this game is still growing. I absolutely think that. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I've noticed that. So I'm mostly like I stick in the Northeast region. So like New York, New Jersey, Boston areas. I haven't gone down to like the Maryland meta at all. I went to Ohio like randomly because I was like, oh wow, there's a regional. I'm gonna shoot over there. But I've gotten to the point now where I'm going to these events and I like recognize someone's face. Like we've never talked. I've never seen, like I've never spoke to them, but I know their face. And now like everything's blending together. And I'm like, and then I'll eventually I'll go talk to these people like, do I know you? And he's like, oh yeah, I was in New York at this event. But it's crazy how well Destiny players travel. Like it's just nerds on the road, nerds on the plane. Like
Yep.
It's I was I was talking to Agent of Zion one time, and he was telling me about like traveling to different events, like through airplane, and he's like, I have a Supreme packing like regiment, and I was like, what? Like we're already like that defined. So
I mean, that dude's in the military, so like of course he's organized.
Yeah, and he's 4 feet tall, so it can't be that hard to pack his clothes up.
I'm in the military, and I'm not organized at all.
No, he's actually really neat guy.
Orlando every once in a while. He's a great guy to hang out with.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about him. I actually been wanting to meet up with him for a while. He wears glasses, doesn't he, or no glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That defines a person.
It does.
Am I different
I'll
now?
know who he is.
Yes, I don't even know who you are. Put
Guy
that
with
back
glasses.
think he said he's gonna be back down here in September, so we'll have to hit you up whenever he's in town.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He owes me a beer. He said he would buy me a beer after winning the tournament, so I'm holding him to it.
So now he owes you 2 because you topped. You got first place.
All right, shut her down.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks
Tired.
again, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I know that you've been probably hit up by quite a few people, and you've already done the whole podcast and the article thing. So we wanted to put something out for our people, and just thanks again, man. I appreciate it, and great job, and congratulations. So
Thanks, man. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Hey,
problem.
before you go, Kevin said whatever the Hyperloops is paying you, we'll pay you $1 more. The Jackalmen Games T-shirt is already in the mail, so
You're telling me I'm getting $1.
Oh, oh,
We'll make it $5 then.
and
Okay.
a T-shirt.
And a T-shirt.
Just
I've only
don't
got
send it back because we already paid you the $1.
a quality made T-shirt, not that iron-on crap that they give you.
Yeah.
I will
Prime.
tell you, the best thing I've gotten from the Hyperloops is this hoodie, the team hoodie I got at Worlds, man. That thing I wear in Florida because it's so comfy.
All
All right, that wins. If you got a hoodie, you
Take
can wear
the t-shirt,
in
though.
Florida.
I can wear the T-shirt under the hoodie, and then everybody's good.
Hey, I like that.
And then when you win the next event, lift up the hoodie with the
That's it.
Just rip it open. It was a surprise the whole time.
I'll be in the background with a money gun, just like making it rain. Dollars.
Yeah, $1 will come out of the money gun for Andrew.
Just because.
$1. All
All
right, I'm
right,
sorry, I
guys.
kept going.
Yeah, we derailed.
Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to check out the Hyperloops on thehyperloops.com. And again, thanks again for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate everything you guys do. Take it easy.
We love you.
I...
Do you like cracking packs? Join the Jackalmen Games Patreon to have a chance to win a box every month.